Hey guys, GoForce Online here to bring you another one of my trash builds. Now this is my Inferno Dragon damage dealer. So it's damage dealer that only does flame damage, and there's a reason that I'm only doing flame damage. I'll get into that a bit later. Now with the vampire changes as well, a lot of players are being vampires, and they also have increased damage taken from flame damage. So dealing flame damage nowadays is a really good way to go. Alright, so let's take a look at the build. So I've got about 39k max magicka there, so nice high magicka pool, definitely worthwhile. Sitting about 18k health, which is not bad. With the damage dealer, having a bit of extra health definitely helps. Spell damage sitting about 3k there. It does get boosted a bit during the rotation of the build. So the important thing with this one, with this build, is that the abilities bounce off of each other. So if you activate certain abilities in a certain sequence, it becomes very, very powerful because they stack on top of each other. Spell resistance is sitting about 19k and physical resistance about 14k, so about average for a damage dealer. So I'm using the Apprentice Munderstone there, which increases my spell damage. And that's about it. So let's take a look at the inventory. First one I'm using here is Dominus. So when you deal damage, you create either a ring of fire or molten earth around you for 15 seconds, which deals 1800 flame damage or 1500 physical damage every 1 second. Standing within the ring grants you 300 spell damage or 300 weapon damage, and this effect can occur once every 15 seconds. Now, the really good thing about this set is that if you do physical damage, you get the Molten Earth and the increased weapon damage. If you do magic damage, then you get the Ring of Fire and the increased spell damage. So, dealing magic there, so you can see this ring has been created around me, and my spell damage here has increased there. So it is specific, so it's not random where you can have a magicka build that suddenly has increased weapon damage. So very nice setup for that way. The second one I'm using here is Succession. So whenever I deal flame damage, shock damage, or frost damage, I gain 492 spell damage for that element for 4 seconds. And this effect can occur every 4 seconds. So as long as I'm dealing flame damage, I can have 100% uptime on this. Now worth noting, it only affects flame damage, so if I use flame, then I only get that boost to flame damage, so it won't show up on my character sheet. But you can definitely see it in the abilities when you're using them, that the increased damage is there. And then the last one I'm using here is Elf Bane. So very nice, it's a reason I'm using only flame damage. And it increases the duration of flame damage over time abilities by 5 seconds. So all of my abilities are pretty much flame damage over time abilities, so they're all increased by 5 seconds, so it increases my overall damage output by quite a lot. So very nice set to have here. And let's take a look at the skills. So first one I'm using here is Burning Embers from the class skill line. So slash an enemy dealing about 5k flame damage and additional 23k flame damage over 19 seconds. So usually it's set about 14 seconds. With that 5-second boost it goes up to 19, which increases the overall damage over time of dueling there. Heals me for 82% of the total damage inflicted when this effect ends. So enemies hit by this the burning status effect applied to them. So very nice, and burning status effect bounces off one of my other abilities as well. So next one here is Exhale, so dealing flame damage for about 7.3k and additional 17k or about 18k flame damage over 19 seconds. Affected enemies take more damage from all flame damage attacks based on your offensive stats with a maximum of 10% bonus. So currently with this build I've got the max 10% bonus. So activating this ability here increases the amount of damage that they take from flame damage by 10%. Alright, moving to the next one, Molten Whip. It has seen some changes with the last couple of patches. So it deals an initial 11k flame damage, and if you strike an enemy that is immobilized or stunned, they are set off balance. So while slotted, whenever I activate a different Agent Flame ability, you gain a stack of Seethering Fury, which increases the damage of the next Molten Whip by 33% and also grants you 75 weapon and spell damage for 5 seconds. This is stacked to 3 times. So using the normal Molten Whip there, so it's about 12k, it's about 8k. So activating other skills, they last for about 5 seconds, these stacks. Then activating the Molten Whip's got a bit of a different animation and about twice as much damage. So make sure when you use this ability, you build those stacks up first. You get that ability to proc, so you've got the full 99% extra damage, and then you've got the extra spell damage as well. So like I said, these abilities bounce off each other, so the order that you're using him is very important. The next one I've got here is Flames of Oblivion. So activating this ability launches a fireball at 2 enemies every 5 seconds, dealing about 7k flame damage. While slotted, I gain Major Prophecy, increasing my spell critical, and this ability scales off your highest offensive stat. So this is just a passive ability, so activating it once every 15 seconds, it will launch a flame ball at the target. See there. And activating that ability as well. So nice passive ability, just a bit of extra damage that outputs. Next one here is Deep Breath. So deals an additional 3,300 magic damage and heals me for 110% of the damage caused. And enemies hit by this while casting is interrupted and set off balance and stunned for 2 seconds. After 2.5 seconds, you exhale fire, which deals about 9.7k flame damage to nearby enemies. So, very nice ability to have. So activating it, not a lot of initial damage, but that exhale damage is very, very nice. Then the last one I have here is Shooting Star from the Major skill line. So it launches down a comet that deals 16.4k flame damage, and then does about 4,900 flame damage every 1 second for 19 seconds in that area. And also every enemy hit by this, you generate 12 ultimate. So if you get a massive group of enemies, drop in the middle of them, you can pretty much get all your ultimate back at once. So usually this one again lasts for 14 seconds for the damage over time, but it's been boosted with an extra 5. So that is about 20k extra damage there, about 25k extra damage there in the area. Alright, let's take a look at the back bar. So first one I have here is Scaling Ruin from the Major skill line. So you set a trap which activates after 2 seconds and can last for 36 seconds. So when triggered, it deals initial damage of 8.9k flame damage and then an additional 13k flame damage over 20 seconds. So very nice damage over time extra ability there. This one also gets boosted by that 5-second increase. The next one we have here is the Burning Talons. So call forth the Talons, which deals about 7k flame damage to enemies in the area, and then an additional 16k flame damage over 9 seconds, and immobilizes them for 4 seconds. So you can see that the flame damage has gained the 5-second increase from this set, but the immobilization hasn't. Anna can activate a synergy which deals additional 10k magic damage as well. Now the immobilize from this one then bounces off the Molten Whip. So if you strike an enemy that is immobile or stunned and you set them off balance, and if you look at the champion system, there is a, let's see if I can pull it up here. Don't have it active, but a lot of people will do, so it increases your damage done against off-balance enemies by 10%. Alright, then next one here is Blockade of Fire from the Weapon skill line. So just something worth noting is that with the weapon skill line, if I have a flame staff active, then all this it says magic damage actually becomes flame damage. If it's a lightning staff, then it becomes shock damage. Same with all these abilities here as well. So it depends on which staff you're using, depends on what type of damage it actually outputs. So it might say magic damage, but as soon as you equip this skill here, so I've got elemental blockade, as soon as I've got it equipped here, it turns into flame damage. Anyway, so this one deals flame damage and to enemies in the area, and burning enemies take 20% more damage from this ability. Now, if you take a look at our first one here, this hits enemies and applies the burning status effect. So if you hit an enemy with this ability and then activate this one gains a 20% increase. So, like I said, they really bounce off each other, so it promotes very well. Next one is Eruption. So activates in an area which deals 1,600 flame damage every 1 second and lasts for 24 seconds and deals 6,900 flame damage immediately. So you activate this skill on the ground. There you go, deals the initial damage and then damage over time there as well. And then the last one on this side is Molten Armaments. So it gives me Major Brutality and Major Sorcery, which increases my weapon and spell damage by 20%. And also increases my damage done with heavy attacks while active by 50%. Now you can use the other variation as well, which is a lot more group orientated, which gives a boost to the group and lasts a lot longer. But I want to be a bit selfish with this one and increase that heavy attack damage there as well. And then the ultimate here is Standard of Might. So call down the standard, which deals 4,300 flame damage every 1 second for 25 seconds. So that one also gains the 5-second boost, which is really nice. And applies them with Major Defile, which reduces their healing receives and health recovery by 30%. Standing in the area with the damage done reduces your damage taken by 15% and also increases your damage done by 15%. So a bit of a buff to yourself, makes you a bit harder to kill and increases your damage output as well. It also has a synergy that an ally can activate, which deals another 10k flame damage to enemies in the area and immobilizes them for 5 seconds. So a very nice ultimate. It's really up to you which one you want to use on which side. They're not as dependent as the other ones, but with these skills set up, so you can see Molten Whip, you need to activate these skills in order to gain those stacks up. So the abilities are linked within each other, so you need to figure out which path you need to follow in order to gain the maximum damage output there. Now, damage dealing is definitely not my forte, so I'm not even going to try with a rotation. I'll leave that guy up to you guys, but I'm just going to show you what the abilities do. So the first one here is just Slicing, deals that initial damage. So Flame, which increases their damage taken from flame abilities as well. There's that Molten Whip with the 4 stacks on top of that, and that's just the regular one. Activating this one just shoots that fireball once every 5 seconds there. And then this one, which gives me some healing. And then, boom, releases it all at once. Then on the back bars, the major skilled skill, which sets a trap, and after 2 seconds explodes, and then deals damage over time there. That's the Talons. Is immune to CC, so the Talons don't hold very long. Next one, there's the Blockade of Fire, which deals damage over time there. And then the AoE damage you can set at range. And then the last one is just the buff, which increases all my spell damage and weapon damage. I probably should have started with that one. And then last one is the standard, which on this entire area, so it increases my damage done, reduces my damage taken by 15%, and also deals damage over time for anybody in the area. Alright, thanks for listening guys. If you like the content that I'm putting out, please hit that like and subscribe. If you have any ideas for builds that I need to do in the future, please let me know in the comments down below. Take care and be safe. Bye.